The observation deck was silent except for the soft hum of the station's life support systems. Commander Vexel stood with his forearms crossed, watching the small blue planet rotate slowly below. He had been stationed at Outpost Kellner for 3 cycles now, monitoring this unremarkable system on the edge of the galaxy. Nothing ever happened here. The planet below had life, but it was primitive. Stone tools, fire, simple shelters. The species there would not reach the stars for thousands of years, if they survived at all. Vexel turned away from the window and walked back to his station. His species, the Zenthri, had explored half the galaxy. They had catalogued millions of worlds. They knew what to look for. Intelligence was rare, but when it appeared, it followed patterns. Species took their time. They grew slowly. They learned from their mistakes over generations. Rushed too fast, and a civilization would destroy itself. It was a universal law. The console beeped. Vexel's eyes widened. A probe had detected something unusual. He pulled up the data and stared at the screen. Impossible. He checked again. The readings were correct. On the planet below, in a region the Zenthri had marked as low priority, there were now structures. Large ones. They had not been there yesterday. Vexel's secondary arms moved quickly across the controls, zooming in the visual feed. His hearts began to beat faster. Stone buildings. No, not stone. Baked clay. Hundreds of them arranged in a grid pattern. Roads connected them. Fields surrounded them. This was a city. He checked the records. 3 days ago, this area had shown only scattered settlements. Small groups of the primitive species living in mud huts. Now there was organization. Planning. Architecture. Vexel activated the emergency beacon. Within minutes, his superior, Overseer Thrain, appeared on the communication screen. Her face was calm, but her eyes showed concern. Commander Vexel, explain the emergency. Overseer, the species on the planet below. They have built a city. In 3 days. Thrain's face did not change, but Vexel saw her third eye blink. That meant she was surprised. That is not possible. Check your instruments. I have checked them twice. The data is accurate. Send me the files. Vexel transmitted the images and readings. He watched Thrain's face as she reviewed them. Her skin turned a shade darker, a sign of deep thought among the Zenthri. This violates the development curve, she said quietly. No species advances this quickly. Not naturally. Should we investigate closer? Vexel asked. No. We observe only. Send continuous monitoring. I want updates every 6 hours. The screen went dark. Vexel returned to his console and began setting up the enhanced surveillance protocols. He had been taught that fast development was dangerous. Species that moved too quickly always collapsed. They built weapons before wisdom. They destroyed themselves before they could reach the stars. It had happened 100 times in recorded history. But as Vexel watched the blue planet, he felt something he had not felt in years. Curiosity. And beneath that, something else. Something that felt almost like fear. 6 hours later, Vexel sent his first report. The city had walls now. Tall ones, made of stone blocks fitted together with precision. There were markets in the center filled with people trading goods. He could see pottery, woven cloth, metal tools. Metal. They had discovered metalworking. 12 hours after that, the second report. Irrigation channels ran from a nearby river to the fields. The crops were organized in rows. There were storage buildings, large enough to hold food for thousands. The population of the city had doubled. Vexel did not sleep during his shift. He could not look away. Every time he checked the feeds, something new had appeared. Workshops. Temples. What looked like a central meeting hall with pillars and a domed roof. On the third day, Overseer Thrain arrived at the station in person. She stood next to Vexel at the observation deck and stared down at the planet. They are building an empire, she said softly. In less than a week. How is this possible? Vexel asked. I do not know. Our models predict that a species at their stage should take 5,000 years to reach this point. They have done it in days. Vexel pulled up a new feed. Overseer, look at this. The image showed a group of the species gathered around a flat stone. On the stone were markings. Symbols. Organized in rows and columns. Writing, Thrain whispered. They have developed writing. The two Zenthri stood in silence. Around them the station hummed. Below them the blue planet turned. And on its surface, a species that should have been throwing stones at animals was building the foundations of civilization. What do we do? Vexel asked. Thrain's forearms hung at her sides. Her face was unreadable. We watch. And we hope they destroy themselves before they discover us. But even as she said it, Vexel saw something in her eyes that he had never seen before. Doubt. The Zenthri had observed 1,000 worlds. They had seen every pattern of development. They thought they understood how intelligence evolved. They were wrong. The council chamber on the Zenthri homeworld was vast and circular, with seats arranged in rising tiers around a central platform. Overseer Thrain stood on that platform now, her 4 arms held formally at her sides, while 200 of the galaxy's most experienced observers watched her in silence. Above them, a holographic projection showed the blue planet rotating slowly, its continents outlined in soft light. The species calls themselves humans, Thrain began. Her voice echoed in the chamber. We have intercepted their spoken language and begun translation. What I am about to show you will challenge everything we know about species development. She gestured and the hologram changed. It showed a timeline starting 30 days ago and moving forward. The council members leaned forward in their seats. 30 days ago humans lived in small tribal groups. They hunted with spears. They gathered plants. Their population was stable at roughly 2 million across the entire planet. Thrain paused. Today their population is 15 million. They have built 47 cities. They have developed agriculture, mathematics, written language, metallurgy, and complex social structures. A council member stood. His name was Elder Corvin, and he had observed species for 300 years. Overseer Thrain, these numbers are impossible. You are suggesting that humans have compressed 10,000 years of development into 1 month. I am not suggesting it, Elder Corvin. I am reporting it. Another council member rose. There must be external influence. Another species must be interfering, accelerating their development. We have scanned the entire system, Thrain replied. There is no evidence of any other intelligence. No ships. No structures. No energy signatures. The humans are doing this themselves. The chamber erupted in noise. Council members spoke over each other, their voices rising in pitch. Thrain waited. Finally, the High Observer raised her primary hand, and the room fell silent. Show us more, the High Observer said. Thrain nodded and changed the hologram again. Now it showed a human city from above. The streets were organized in perfect grids. Buildings of stone and wood lined the roads. In the center was a large plaza where thousands of humans gathered. This is the city they call Eridu, Thrain said. It was built in 6 days. The population is 300,000. They have running water brought in through channels. They have waste systems that drain into treatment pools. They have a government with written laws. She zoomed in on a building. Inside, humans sat at long tables marking symbols onto clay tablets. This is their learning center. They teach their young to read and write. But here is what disturbs me most. The image shifted to show a workshop. Humans were pouring molten metal into molds, creating tools and weapons. But in the corner of the workshop, one human stood alone at a table, drawing diagrams on papyrus. This human is designing something new, Thrain said quietly. A tool we have never seen before. We do not know what it does yet because they have not built it. But they are planning ahead. They are innovating. Elder Corvin stood again. All species innovate. This is not unusual. Elder Corvin, this human did not exist 6 days ago. She was born 28 days ago. She is learning, creating, and planning at a rate that should not be biologically possible. The chamber went silent. The High Observer's eyes narrowed. Explain. Humans mature incredibly fast, Thrain said. Their childhood lasts only 12 to 15 years. But more than that, they seem to learn from each other at a rate we cannot measure. One human discovers something, and within hours humans across the planet know about it. They do not wait for slow generational transfer. They communicate. They share. They build on each other's ideas immediately. Thrain changed the image again. Now it showed 2 cities hundreds of miles apart. Watch this. In the first city, a human was demonstrating a new type of plow to a small group. In the second city, 3 days later, the same type of plow was being manufactured in large numbers. How? Elder Corvin whispered. We believe they have established trade routes and messenger systems. They send runners between cities carrying information. But it is more than that. They have a collective drive we have never observed. When one human learns something useful, they do not keep it secret. They spread it. They want the entire species to benefit. A younger council member stood. Perhaps they are a hive mind? No, Thrain said. We have confirmed they are individuals with independent thoughts. But they cooperate as if they are one organism. They sacrifice personal gain for group advancement. The High Observer stood slowly. Her presence commanded attention. "Overseer Thrain, what is your assessment of the threat level?" Thrain hesitated. Then she said, "If they continue at this rate, they will discover space travel in less than a year." The chamber erupted again. This time, the High Observer did not call for silence. She let the council argue and shout. Finally, she raised both primary arms and the noise stopped. "We have a choice," the High Observer said. "We can make contact now while they are still young and guide them. Or we can wait and see what they become." "If we wait," Thrain said carefully, "we may not have the advantage when we meet them." The High Observer looked at the hologram of the blue planet. She was silent for a long time. Around her, the council waited. Finally she spoke. "Continue observation. Double the monitoring. I want reports every day. And prepare our ships. If humanity discovers us before we are ready, I want to ensure we can respond." The council members bowed and began to file out. Thrain remained on the platform, staring at the projection of Earth. Somewhere down there, humans were building, learning, creating. They did not know they were being watched. They did not know that their speed had frightened the galaxy's oldest civilization. And they did not know that they were running out of time. Commander Vexel had not left the observation deck in 5 days. His replacement had come and gone, but Vexel stayed. He could not look away. The planet below had changed so much that he barely recognized it. Where there had been forests, there were now fields. Where there had been rivers flowing wild, there were now dams and reservoirs. The humans were reshaping their world at a speed that made his head hurt. He pulled up the latest population report. 28 million. In 40 days. He checked the calculation 3 times because he did not believe it. Human females could produce offspring rapidly, but this was beyond biology. Then he understood. The humans were not just reproducing. They were thriving. Their crops were abundant. Their cities were clean. Their medical knowledge, primitive as it was, kept their young alive at rates no early civilization should achieve. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission. Vexel accepted it, and Overseer Thrain appeared on the screen. She looked tired. Her skin had lost some of its color. "Commander, I need you to investigate something," she said. "We have detected unusual energy readings from the northern continent. Section 47. Send a probe." Vexel's fingers moved across the console. A small probe detached from the station and descended toward the planet's atmosphere. It moved carefully, using stealth technology to avoid detection. The Zenthri had observed thousands of species, and they had learned to be invisible. The probe sent back images. Vexel stared at the screen. In a valley surrounded by mountains, humans had built something new. It was a massive structure made of stone blocks, each one carved with precision and fitted together without mortar. The structure was circular, open to the sky, with pillars arranged in a pattern that seemed deliberate. "What is it?" Thrain asked. "I do not know," Vexel admitted. He zoomed in. Humans moved around the structure, carrying tools and tablets covered in symbols. Some of them were drawing diagrams in the dirt. Others were measuring distances with ropes and wooden rods. Then Vexel saw it. In the center of the structure, there was a flat stone surface tilted at an angle. And on that surface, humans had carved lines and circles that matched the stars above them. "Overseer," Vexel said slowly, "I think they are studying astronomy." Thrain was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Send me all the data." Immediately. The probe circled the structure, capturing images from every angle. Vexel saw humans pointing at the sky, comparing what they saw to their carvings. They were tracking the movement of celestial bodies. They were mapping the heavens. "They have had 40 days, Thrain whispered. 40 days and they are already looking up. Vexel felt a chill run through his body. Every species eventually looked to the stars. But it took time. Curiosity had to develop. Tools had to be invented. Mathematics had to be discovered. The process took thousands of years. Humans were doing it in weeks. What drives them? Vexel asked quietly, more to himself than to Thrain. But Thrain heard him. I have been asking myself the same question. I have reviewed all our observations. I have compared humans to every species in our database. And I think I have found something. She sent a file to Vexel's console. He opened it and saw a compilation of human behaviors, organized by category. One category caught his attention. It was labeled Response to Challenge. Vexel read through the examples. When humans faced a drought, they built irrigation systems within days. When they faced predators, they developed weapons and walls. When they faced disease, they experimented with herbs and treatments until they found solutions. Every problem became an opportunity. Every obstacle made them stronger. They do not accept limitations, Thrain said. Other species adapt to their environment slowly over generations. Humans adapt immediately. And they do not just adapt. They overcome. They dominate. Vexel watched the screen as the humans at the observatory structure pointed at the sky and made notes on their tablets. One of them, a young female, climbed to the top of the structure and stood on the highest pillar. She looked up at the stars with an expression Vexel had seen before, on the faces of Zenthari explorers about to embark on their first journey into space. It was wonder. And hunger. Overseer, what do we do when they discover faster-than-light travel? Vexel asked. Thrain did not answer immediately. When she did, her voice was heavy. The council is divided. Some believe we should make contact now and establish ourselves as their guides. Others believe we should quarantine this system and prevent them from leaving. And you? What do you believe? Thrain looked directly at him through the screen. I believe we are afraid, Commander. The Zenthari have been the dominant species in this region of space for 10,000 years. We have never encountered a civilization that could challenge us. Until now. Vexel turned back to the observation window. The blue planet turned below him, beautiful and terrifying. Somewhere down there, humans were working, building, learning. They did not know that above them, an ancient civilization watched with growing fear. The console beeped again. Another alert. Vexel pulled up the data and felt his heart skip a beat. In 3 different cities, humans had begun constructing tall towers made of wood and stone. The towers reached high into the air, higher than any building they had made before. Overseer, you need to see this. Thrain looked at the images. What are they building? Vexel zoomed in on one of the towers. At the top, humans were installing a platform. On the platform they were placing something that looked like a large bowl made of polished metal. I think, Vexel said carefully, they are building observatories. To see the stars more clearly. Thrain closed her eyes. When she opened them again, Vexel saw something he had never seen in a Zenthari before. Not in all his years of service. It was not anger or confusion. It was resignation. They will not stop, Thrain said quietly. Whatever is in their nature, whatever drives them forward, it will not allow them to stop. They will reach the stars, Commander. The only question is whether we will be ready when they do. The transmission ended. Vexel stood alone in the observation deck, watching the planet below. He thought about his own species, the Zenthari, who had taken 50,000 years to develop space travel. He thought about the Council, gathering on the homeworld, trying to decide how to respond to a species that had rewritten the rules of development. And he thought about the humans, down on their blue planet, building towers to touch the sky, carving maps of stars they had never visited, driven by something the Zenthari had lost long ago. The will to reach beyond what was possible.